and then somebody else would have a birthday.
Well, Manchester sure knows how to show you a good time. Love that you get to see a bit of the city. Well, I'm going to ask a question to you, Edward, but please, all of you chime in. Were you aware of, or were you kind of privy to the fact that Terminator was going to be such a huge franchise in the first film? Did you have any inkling that it was going to turn into the phenomenon that it is now, bringing you all the way to Manchester?
Yes and no. Like, I mean, when we did it, I knew it was going to be big because, you know, Jim had already done, like, I think he did The Abyss, Aliens, you know, all of that. And, of course, it was a giant production and everything. But if you told me that I'd be 46 years old and I'd still be doing this for that movie, I wouldn't have believed it. Yeah, it's crazy how long it's lasted, you know.
What were your thoughts on the first film? I'll go to Jeanette.
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah.
I absolutely adored the first film. I went to see it. I was living in Hackney, and I went to see it at a movie theater. I think it was called the Ritz. And I just loved it. And it was so much I went back and told my husband, I said, you got to see this film and I'll go back and see it again. And when I went to the audition, my first meeting with Gail Ann Hurd for Aliens, in this little office, she had the poster of Terminator on the wall. And I was like, oh my God, I love that movie. I just saw it. And she goes, yes, that's ours. And I was like, ours? I was so confused. I didn't exactly know who she was. And this young woman and this film I saw was hers. It was, yeah, no, I'm a huge fan of it.
How about you, Xander?
I went on opening night with Robert Patrick because our girlfriends were really, really close friends, so we'd known each other before, and it was really fun. We snuck in the back of the Hollywood Cinerama Dome on opening night and found they'd saved 4 seats for us in the back, and we just watched and got to see the movie and see an audience's first reaction to it. And it was so incredible, I'll never forget it, ever. It was like, that's an exciting movie. And we're a part of it. And then we cut out the back, and it was like, that's going to be around for a while.
That's not going anywhere, clearly not. Well, what do you think it is about, and anyone can chime in and answer, what do you think it is about Terminator and the franchise that's lasted, and spanned so many generations?
I think it's Jim Cameron, personally. I mean, I think he's just, he's so talented and knows what he's doing. And it kind of seems like whenever he does a movie, that is what happens, you know? Yeah, man, I just don't feel like they make them like they used to, you know? Like, I feel like, all the practical stuff and everything, I think it just has like a lasting power that like a lot of stuff today doesn't have, you know? I don't know. Yeah. Right?
Let me see. I'm not really sure. Well, actually, it's the first film where you had did they call it CGI? I don't think so, but computer generated, melting, going through the bars. I'd never seen it. I mean, I saw what I was looking at with all of you for the first time. I didn't know what I was looking at.
I'm still amazed how many people don't realize how much of what we did, like it's specifically in the scene where my wife impaled me.
Well, don't drink out of the milk carton.
Was not all
come on.
computer generated. We had, they made this incredible replica of Jeanette's arm that turns into a blade that had 2 posts on it that the puppeteers could hold just under frame, going through her shirt sleeve, down through the carton, down my throat, and they gave me a sword to actually practice sword swallowing with for 2 weeks. True fact, which I gag on a toothbrush, so that was a lot of work for me. And then they had a retractable blade that came out of the back of my head that was on a pulley system, again, under frame, puppeteers pulling it to go boom at the same time. One of the puppeteers was holding the corner of the milk carton so it would drop independent of the blade coming out. And so there were all these guys right under the frame doing all the stuff, and they had the dot to dots, essentially. They had through the head, then you're like this, and then you're like this. And then there's the guy that wore the silver suit that comes in, and then Robert Patrick in the police uniform walking out of frame. But throughout all of that, I wasn't allowed to move. Jim said, this is after I've done a back bend for about 4 hours while they match the glint and the blade.
Leaning against the counter.
They didn't take into account that there was going to be a kitchen counter that I had to bend back over. And when Jim first saw it, he looked at Stan Winston. He goes, "You didn't take the counter into account. Thanks a lot, Stan. There goes $250,000." And I felt so bad for Stan. I was like, no, I'll try the back bend. I'll do the back bend. And I did the back bend for about 3 or 4 hours as they matched the glint. And originally, I don't know if you remember, they had a tube of milk and a tube of blood that went down the back of the blade. Like, it's not gross enough to begin with. And then they separated them at the very back so that the blood would come out one side and the milk would come out the other. And so it wouldn't just come out like Pepto-Bismol pink. And it was so gross that they did it one time, and everybody almost got sick, just as I did from the tubes in the back of my throat. But so then they took those off, but they still had to, they did this weird thing where they had to photograph the entire room, move the camera out of place so that they wouldn't get the camera in the reflection on the blade that they're going to later put back in. And so they did all these little sort of moments of perfection that they then could seamlessly tie together in computer-generated imagery, blending between the different points.
Yeah, it was really strange. I mean, people always ask me, oh, it must have been so difficult, and I was like, no, it was Xander who underwent a lot of difficulty.
And my favorite part was because it was late at night. It was an actual practical house in the valley, and it gets cold in LA in the winter at night. And the sliding glass doors had to be open wide enough to have the major cables for the camera and the sound department. And I'm slumped down like this, and this is where Jim said, after I get drop, that if I move this much, I'll fuck up the whole thing. So for literally another 3 or 4 hours, I'm on the ground like this, not moving. As Jim, in between each shot, comes and swirls, he pours the milk and the blood on the floor and swirls it because my jeans kept sucking it up and just absorbing into my, jeans.
That's
all night,
acting
and it was
for
so
you.
cold.
Yeah, no, I just had to put my arm like this kind of, and then I remember, move your eyes here, move your eyes there, move your head there, and then I had to do it with my arm behind my back, imagining that my arm, someone with their finger would draw their finger up, and I had to do that, and then put your hand up. I mean, so it didn't come together. I remember Jim getting really angry that the little knife that would spring wouldn't work. And he was like, "God damn it, guys, get that damn thing to work." And Xander's just like, has anybody seen the YouTube of Xander when they're setting it up and your eyes sort of kind of go?
But you sure did nail that look, boy.
Yeah. So
We love to hear the attention to detail of what goes into